In the second part of this lecture, we're going to continue our discussion on Web Application Firewall, which is a firewall that monitors, filters, and blocks data packets as they travel to and from a web application. Running as a network appliance, server plugin, or cloud service, a web application firewall inspects each packet and uses a rule-based to analyze the web application logic and filter out potential harmful traffic. We'll learn about firewall in more detail in Chapter 12. As shown here on this figure, a web application firewall is placed logically between an application and the end users, such that all traffic to and from the application goes through the web application firewall. Beyond the use of a web application firewall, there are some other specific security measures that should be considered. First, it should provide confidentiality and integrity protection for configuration files and other information specific to the application by isolating the files from other programs on the server and restricting file access. Second, web content should similarly have confidentiality and integrity protections. Third, oversight in the form of regular content review is needed to ensure that the content is appropriate and is accurate. Web application vulnerabilities account for the largest portion of attack vectors after malware. Several reports have shown that existing security measures intended to protect web applications routinely fail. Therefore, it is important for an organization to have and enforce a web application security policy. The policy template provided by the System Administration, Audit, and Network and Security Institute is a good model to use. In the last part of this lecture, we're going to introduce the end-user developed applications. In many enterprises, some business processes are supported by the end-user developed applications. Such applications are outside the formal systems supported by the IT organization. They're typically developed by technically savvy users within the business function, and sometimes are created by a group within the department that is responsible for reporting or metrics calculations. These applications can go beyond reporting and actually augment or replace functionality contained in the formal system. Usually, they are not directly programmed in a programming language, but use the common tools such as Microsoft Excel to create spreadsheet programs or database management systems, such as Microsoft Access to create database functions. The list here on this slide shows examples of activities by end-user programmers. The benefit of end-user developed applications include convenience and ease of use. Powerful tools and technology where end users are fulfilling the increasing demand for information. The user-developed applications are generally not subject to the same development, monitoring, and reporting rigor and controls as the traditional applications. In addition, management often lacks visibility into exactly how pervasive user-developed applications have become throughout the enterprise. This leads to a number of disadvantages and risks related to user-developed applications, including errors, poor version and change control, poor documentation, lack of security, lack of an audit trail, regulatory and compliance violations, risk of the unknown, and the opportunity cost. The end-user developed application needs a comprehensive security framework that formalizes procedure for managing the applications and clarify organizational policy. There are several considerations that need to be made for the end-user developed applications. The first set of considerations is in the area of governance. Senior executives must define what constitutes an end-user developed application. This involves distinguishing end-user developed applications from IT-developed and supported applications, and specifying which types of the applications should be placed under management control. Also, an end-user developed application policy document is needed to provide a consistent framework for end-user developed application control. In addition, regardless of which individual developed the application, the organization should assign ownership responsibility to ensure that the policy document is enforced. Proper management and control of end-user developed application requires identifying the key stakeholders. Once the key stakeholders are identified, The next step is to establish the roles and responsibilities. The organization should also develop a training program to target each of the stakeholder groups. Management's top concerns with respect to end-user developed applications are the potential risks of any given application. The risk assessment concepts discussed in Chapter 3 should be applied here. For each end-user developed application, the application owner applies the risk model to determine which applications should be placed under the formal management control. As with IT-developed applications, as part of application portfolio management, there should be an inventory or register of all end-user developed applications that are under management control. For each end-user development application, based on its risk and impact assessment, the application owner should select the appropriate controls such as version control, change control, data integrity control, access control, and availability control. Once an end-user developed application has been created, the application owner should be required to establish a baseline which involves validating the structure, formulas, calculations, inputs, and outputs of the end-user developed applications. Once the controls and baselines are established, the application owner is responsible for periodic testing to monitor the effectiveness of the controls and to ensure that user groups continue to adhere to defined controls. In the area of technology, the organization should perform an assessment to see what sorts of tools and enablers exist or should be acquired to support the development of end-user developed applications. Specific end-user developed application management software tools can be deployed, where native functionality can be used with various degrees of available functionality. Next, organization needs to assess the impact of new end-user developed applications in terms of sizing and infrastructure needs. In addition, the organization should develop technical solutions to enforce access control. The access control involves which users have access to use a given end-user developed application. Finally, management needs to develop a schedule for moving end-user developed applications into the management framework and providing oversight for the rollout of new applications as they are approved.